Gillian McKeith, you know that woman who seems to, get a kick out of spooning through somebody else's poo to find out what way their health is. Can you think of a worse job in the world? Sometimes I wonder at the things that doctors and general people involved in medicine do to earn their daily bread. But this apparently is a very important thing to do, and so much so that a lot of research is going into it. And they're finding now that the type of gut you have, the bacteria in your gut, can help with diagnostics and influence the treatments that you might get if you are sick as well. And they're also finding that if you change your diet, you can prevent the embarrassment of flatulence or farting. This is better known to yourself and myself. Our resident pharmacist Dara Connolly joins us now in the studio to talk more about this. Dara, thank you for bringing this topic up today.
Ian, thank you. I never thought I'd have the opportunity on live radio to be able to talk about farting and to be able to bring it back to a really important scientific foundation, right? So I
just wonder about your motivation sometimes, Dara.
My motivation is a fantastic paper that's come out from the European Molecular Biology Laboratory in Heidelberg in Germany. Ian, we all have this huge bag inside us, right? And it's our intestine. Different parts of the bag do different things.
Yeah.
But all inside the bag, from the back of your throat, even from your mouth, is covered in masses and masses of maybe even up to 1,000 different types of bacteria. So you and I commonly think about and talk about bacteria in terms of that we would get an infection. So a particular type of Staph aureus is what you might get if you had a cut on your hand, or a pneumococcal, whatever it might be, if it's pneumonia, all of those kind of things. But we have very positive bacteria inside our intestines that help us do really good work in breaking down our food.
Okay. So how can those bacteria be used to help diagnose illnesses and influence the treatments?
You and I have very, very finely tuned immune systems. So our immune system has to say this bacteria is good and this bacteria is bad. Otherwise, we would be continually fighting ourselves and the positive benefits that we get from what we might call positive bacteria in our intestines, we wouldn't get it. So it helps us to break down complex sugars. It helps us to create vitamin K. What you then would end up with is that you'd be continually fighting the things that are doing you some good. So this is what a fantastic word. It's a symbiotic relationship, which is the bacteria benefit because they have a home and a food source, and we benefit from them because they help us to do something that we can't do ourselves.
Okay.
The byproduct of some of that work, right, is that just as you would have yeast and you would make your pizza or you would make your white bread at home, the yeast, when activated, creates gas, and that's what helps to make the pizza rise or the bread rise or whatever. If you have too much yeast in your system, what you end up with is the gas that you see rising the bread is the gas, and it has to come out somewhere, and that's what flatulence is, and that's what farting is.
Yeah.
So the other thing then to bear in mind is that if you think of it, we are all quite discerning about what a fart smells like. So you can say to yourself, oh, did you have eggs for breakfast? You can, of course, because what you know is that there's sulfur in that, and you can smell the sulfur. Yeah. Now, if you bring, and this is the science, right?
Okay.
Let's everybody stop guffawing, okay? What you can do then with the science of this is you can say to yourself, just as you and I would smell sulfur, right? We can say, you can set up a test, right? So you can look at either the gas or the poo that somebody creates. You can go through it and say to yourself, well, you must have bacteria X, Y, and Z in your intestine. The next step, and this is where the people in Heidelberg are very clever, is they are now going to say that, well, if you have that kind of bacteria in your system, it probably means you have this kind of an immune system.
I just have an image of, the sommelier in a fine restaurant sniffing the wine to figure out, what grape it is. Is there somebody in a lab in Heidelberg sniffing the farts to figure out, what's gone wrong with someone?
Well, I don't know. Or, if you could bottle that, you could sell it. Look, you think of it, right? You see a dog walking along, right? A dog will start to smell another dog's poo that the dog has left behind, and he'll recognise what kind of a dog it was. We see things through our eyes. We hear things through our ears. We have very, very untuned noses to be able to recognise things.
Thank God,
but what we're looking at in this instance is that you will then be able to say, I think that you probably, if you had this medicine, in tune with your own immune system, you would be much better able to handle this particular disease. So it gives you an extra diagnostic tool to be able to turn around and say you have a much better chance of overcoming this disease with your immune system.
Okay, final question to you, Dara. I was going to ask if women fart less than men, but we'll leave that for another day. Are we going to be looking at a situation where you go into your doctor now in the future and they'll take your blood pressure, they might take a blood sample, a urine sample, and then a stool sample as well?
Absolutely. And currently as it is, you know that if you work in catering and that kind of stuff as well, it is important to get an idea of what kind of bacteria that somebody has in their own intestine. So that will happen. There's no doubt about it. But on a day-to-day basis, the thing to bear in mind is that if you do suffer from flatulence, right, and it's not a thing that people talk about, and it's good that you and I are talking about it, it's one of those things that there's a few small things you can do within your own diet that are going to help you and to change that.
Go on, yeah.
Stay away from yeasty foods.
So white bread, in other words.
So your white bread, your pizzas, but also beer. There's an awful lot of yeast in beer, and you'll get yeast in wine as well. Steer clear of those. And then some slimming aids will have very complex sugars in them that your own body can't break down using your own enzymes, but there's a particular bacteria that will. So the more of that you put into your system, that bacteria will particularly grow. Okay. And the other thing then to bear in mind is as well, if you have a course of regular antibiotics, it's not that the antibiotics give you maybe some thrush or something like that as well. It just upsets the very fine balance that's there between positive and negative bacteria. So if you are suffering from maybe some flatulence or maybe even some thrush or something like that after a course of antibiotics, talk to your pharmacist. You can get some positive bacteria into your system. They come as sachets, they come as capsules. That will help to get the balance correct and back to where you were.
Who would have thought coming to work this morning that we'd be talking about farting on the air this evening?
Beauty of science, Ian.
Indeed. Dara Connolly, a resident pharmacist, thanks as ever for that.
Pleasure, thank you.